I'm happiest in the saddle.
A fellow sportsman.
I am an FBI agent!
Great Scott!
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Come with me if you want to live.
Hello, and welcome to Retro Ramble. I'm Charlie McGee.
I'm George McGee.
And this time we're doing a double of sorts. We are doing a tribute to the late but great Ivan Reitman by covering, we needed to go back to the 80s. He was a big director of that time. And we are covering which two films, George?
It's a tribute to Ivan Reitman, but it's also a tribute to Arnold Schwarzenegger's comedy career. So
it's a double.
It's a double. So we're doing twins, but then the joke is it's a twin double bill. So we're also doing Kindergarten Cop.
Wow, what value for money. Okay, so what can people expect in this episode, George?
A lot of Arnold impressions.
Double Arnie, a very wide range. I don't think you've seen a bigger range of Arnie. And that's something I'm probably going to be talking about a lot in both of these films, to what is his usual wheelhouse, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've covered a lot of Arnie's work. We're big fans, as our listeners will know.
We cover him every year. This is just an episode that is this is Arnie's turn this year.
Annual Arnie.
It's the annual Arnie. Love it. So for anybody who's listened before, you know what to expect. George, what would you advise to anybody listening to this for the first time?
So thank you for checking us out. So Retro Ramble, we're an independent film podcast. Charlie and I are brothers. This podcast is all about us going back and revisiting the films of our youth, seeing do they still hold up, what made them so great, how they were made, have they been remade, spun off, sequelized, franchised, that sort of jazz. Looking into trivia. This is a light-hearted look. This isn't a proper in-depth critical appraisal. There may be some childish language, some swearing, some bad impressions, but
it's nostalgia, baby. We're going back to that mindset of being a child or a young teen or an in-betweener. I don't know what you'd call us, but yeah, it's the same sort of maturity. It's how we reacted to those films at the time, and we won't forget that in a hurry.
Just like the Hollywood machine, we are plundering your nostalgia.
We are churning them out. Let's go back. Maybe people want more of them. That's all they're saying. So let's hit. I'm going to have to do, I don't know if I'm going to do a medley with both of the trailers, or I'm going to drop in just one trailer at a time or both of them together. We'll see.
Well, let's start chronologically. Let's start with Twins.
Okay, so...
In a secret lab, somewhere in the Western Hemisphere, the perfect human specimen has been born. He has the strength of 10 men and the wisdom of 20. He also has a twin brother.
I have a brother?
Oh my goodness, you look good.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Born to be bad.
And Danny DeVito.
Way to go, Mom.
Are twins.
My name is Julius. I'm your twin brother.
Obviously. The moment I sat down, I thought I was looking into a mirror.
Only their mother can tell them apart. Twins, the new comedy from Ivan Reitman.
Julius. What? Are you allergic to something? You're all swelled up. You look like you're ready to explode. I love it when you hit people. Who are you?
Vincent's brother.
We're twins.
That's right.
Twins, coming this Christmas.
So, George, how did we get this movie, Twins?
So, starting with, as all these great stories do, Arnie was on holiday. He was skiing in Aspen. I'm really struggling right now to
but
not
imagine
say this.
the age. Imagine the age, though, because imagine the ski gear he was wearing at this. That we're talking what 80s.
Yeah,
would have looked amazing, and his hair and everything, and you can imagine the aviators. Oh my god! Okay, just see it now.
I'm imagining it now, and I'm struggling not to read this anecdote in Arnie's voice. So he was skiing. He was on holiday in Aspen with some friends, and obviously, in cliquey Hollywood circles, he ended up socializing one night with Ivan Reitman and Robin Williams. And they were having a few drinks and just having a great time. And Ivan Reitman said to him, like, hey, I've never realized how funny you are. You've got great comic timing. Have you ever? Yeah, well, everyone like knows, if you're Arnie, he's a bit of a prankster. And yeah, like Ivan Reitman picked up on that and said, like, you've got great comic timing. You're really funny. Have you ever wanted to do anything with that in your films? And he's like, yeah, I've been, he'd been wanting to do comedy for years, and he'd kind of found himself pigeonholed as an action star. So Ivan Reitman was like, well, leave it with me. I'm going to work up some ideas and I'll come back to you. And I think he went off and wrote up 4 or 5 ideas, and one of them was twins, which Arnie loved the idea of. But I think actually, in the original pitch, it was just twins that were polar opposites in terms of personality, but I don't think it was really much of a like polar opposites in terms of physicalness. So it was actually Arnie that said, well, why don't we get Danny DeVito, because that just is so outlandish, and it'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
So they took it from there. So obviously Ivan Reitman passed away a few weeks ago, and Arnie left a very nice tribute on social media. He said, I'm going to have to do this in his voice. I'll always be grateful that he took a chance on this Austrian action hero in a comedy during a time when the studios just wanted me to focus on finding new ways to kill bad guys, blow up things, and show off some muscles.
What a legend. What a legend. Both of them.
He said, I knew I could make it in comedy, but I needed somebody else know it to make it a reality. That's why Ivan was a great director and friend. He could see something in you that other people didn't, and he could help you show the rest of the world. I think he's very grateful that for Reitman, Reitman in the 80s,
confidence to try stuff.
Who better to say, hey, you want to make a comedy than the guy that made Ghostbusters, Bull Stripes,
Animal House,
and helped make Animal House as well. So it's
can you just imagine that for a moment, right? Just imagine being able to like having drinks with Ivan Reitman, Robin Williams, and Arnold Schwarzenegger
in Aspen.
But imagine having a drink with Robin Williams.
Well, exactly.
I mean, that guy is just, just every story you hear about him and everything you see of him, that would have just been. I'm just imagining now, and having him doing impressions of Arnie to Arnie and Arnie laughing and stuff like that.
Arnie to be basically, obviously, sounds like he's holding his own against Robin Williams. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it started. And Arnie actually in his autobiography.
Have you mentioned that before? We need to get him on here. It's too late to talk about that, but Total Recall Part 2.
So yeah, I think I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. I think it was in prep for this. He studied comedy, so he would go to stand-up shows. I think Danny DeVito revealed that Arnie admitted to doing. I think he trained with Milton Berle, who's like a classic American stand-up and TV comedian. Like, I think he was like from the, one of the first TV comedy personalities, and did the sort of the big comedy stand-up circuit. So Arnie was desperate to get it right. I mean, also, it taps into that, his training mentality of like repetition, keep training, keep perfecting it, keep getting it right. But yeah, the interesting thing about Twins was, so whilst he was keen to make a comedy and he was obviously an established star at this point, the studios were nervous that, whether
he's going off the farm. He's going, Arnie, what are you doing making these comedies?
Well, that's it. So the studios saw it as a risk compared to him making just another action film. So as a result, to get it financed, Arnie, Danny DeVito, and Ivan Reitman all committed to taking no salary up front in exchange for a share in the film profits. Now, obviously, that's not anything groundbreaking. Alec Guinness did it he took a salary sacrifice for Star Wars and took points off the back. Jack Nicholson, we talked about that in the Batman episode. Jack Nicholson made a fortune by taking a cut of the profits for Batman. And I think Jack Nicholson continues to make money. But yeah, I think this is the first time that all three of them did it up front. And they were under sort of like a deadline. So apparently they all just like wrote out their deal on a napkin. And apparently Danny DeVito still has this napkin framed. But Arnie's cut, he got 20% of the profits. And he ended up making 35 million through international sales on like home ends, TV screenings. And apparently he earned more money on Twins than any other film. So including the Terminator films.
And when we talk about how much because when we did T2 on this podcast,
he got a jet. He's given
a tank. He's building an army.
He was given a jet as part of his payment for Terminator 2. So I mean, that's tax deductible.
Completely.
So the actual original title for the film was The Experiment, but that was dropped because of Schwarzenegger's Germanic background. Could put out the wrong vibe. So yes, they went with.
Went with The Final Solution. What?
I think it was even called Brothers, but then there was a David Cronenberg film being made at the time, which was eventually called Dead Ringers, which is about identical twins with Jeremy Irons. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but yeah, that was going into the working title of Brothers, but eventually became Dead Ringers. So yeah, they went with the name of Twins instead. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but one of the facts that I read was that apparently Arnie and Danny DeVito and Hulk Hogan have all revealed in interviews that Arnie and DeVito had the option of doing Twins or Suburban Commando. And had they chosen Suburban Commando instead, Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lloyd would have done Twins. But
what?
I'm not sure. It's also worth pointing out that obviously this film is often incorrectly regarded as his comedy debut. Obviously, before he became a star with Conan and Terminator, he had done a few. There was Hercules in New York, where he was quite famously billed as Arnold Strong and dubbed by somebody else. But that's a comedy. And there's a few other sort of films, but I think this is his first comedy role as a proper fully fledged lead.
And what a lead it is.
And a star. Yeah.
But it's an interesting point in his career. And I mean, obviously Ivan Reitman, he's had Ghostbusters, he's had Animal, he was part of Animal House, but Ghostbusters was his, really, really put his name on the list. And so it's like, where's Arnie's career at the moment? But one thing you want to say about this film is and it probably is the shorts, but he is ripped, bro. Those calf muscles. Maybe it's just because he's showing them off, but I get the feeling there's a big difference between this and, say, Terminator, where he seems leaner and taller for some reason.
Well, if you think this is so...
Terminator 2, T2, by the way, sorry.
Yeah, no, because Predator's 87, so he must have done this off the back of Predator.
And he lost weight. We discussed in Predator, I think it's episode 3. Is it episode 3? I think it's episode 3 of this podcast. That he'd lost weight for that.
He got, but then he did this and Red Heat the same time. So I don't know if he bulked up for Red Heat, maybe. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think obviously it's all about there's so much you can but there's so much you can do just purely through costume, through lighting, through framing, and they're definitely doing some tricks in this to make him look. Obviously, when he's next to DeVito, he's going to look huge as well. Yeah. And next to
that we're going to get onto this in Kindergarten Cop.
Yes,
the principal in that film.
Yes, the tiny principal in Kindergarten Cop. So
I wasn't picked because I was small. Yes, you were.
Apparently, he dyed his hair for blonde for Twins again to sort of stand out, a little bit of a different change between his other roles. But as Twins opens, when he's getting into that dinghy from his desert island, I just couldn't help thinking, play the steel drums,
Just that bit where he's on the road doing the rowing boat. Or you could even, there's even in your head, there's like a Hot Shots thing going on where him from Commando passes the other one and goes, I loved you in Commando, or respectively, I loved you in Twins. But okay, so we're talking about the opening of this film. We like to skip through this one, but George, what a soundtrack. I mean, I think probably Seinfeld called, they want their music back. It was saxalicious, baby. It's just
this what I think I've made note of it somewhere. It's the same composer for both films. It's pretty horrendous music. It's so Randy Edelman is it's so, and a lot of this movie is to accompany the music. It's very much, a lot of it's in soft focus,
sleazy.
It feels like a Van Damme flashback, but the whole film.
What'd you do? Huh? And is that a very young Heather Graham? Very early on.
Yes.
First time I've noticed that, or have I not watched this film enough? I think I've not watched this film enough.
I've got this in my notes that this film is chock full of cameos, and I think it was one of Heather Graham's first film credits. So I don't. So she is the mother, but I think she must have been like 19, 20 years old.
Radiant, simply radiant. But let's talk about all the phases, the experiments, and
we don't call it just the experiment.
No, it's, I don't know. I feel like what I like about that first act is that it actually moves quickly. It's not too sci-fi. It is kind of like,
no, they cut straight into it. Like they're almost like the prologue. You were a perfect specimen. It ended up there's actually twins, and there we go straight. And you've got a brother. Go and find him.
But what's weird, I don't know if it's done deliberately by Reitman, but you go from, I mean, we could talk just about Danny DeVito in general. I mean,
we'll get to him.
It's just the way that there's this mystery over who he is, and then you've like got this other story, like, oh, maybe they're not, and you don't believe it. But let's talk about Arnie. He's turning up, grinning from ear to ear with his blonde hair, and then he's comparing himself to a picture of Stallone or as Rambo.
Love it.
That's so ridiculous. He goes, and then he's like, no, that would be silly. It would be silly to, and that shows you where we are. That shows you where we are in the zeitgeist.
I'm glad Arnie was laughing about it. He was having fun.
Yeah, it was
Stallone meanwhile plotting. But there's one other cameo at the start that we missed, that I completely missed until I was reading through the trivia. But apparently,
at the airport.
No. So the man training Jules how to is Arnie Jules in this? And so he's Jules, and Danny DeVito is Vincent.
Julian,
Julian. The man training him in Oriental arts is Kari Hiroyuki Togawa.
Oh God, is that? No, I think I spotted that when I watched it. I just didn't make a note of it.
I think he's like heavily made up, but like
calm down. There's no techno.
Yeah.
It's not that sort of movie.
Again, he's waiting on the beach. In his throne.
Just ready to go. We've also got, there's the introduction of the two characters. Like he's been, what I love about, there's some similarities, when you see this sort of pumping iron. I think when we were growing up, because he made this video about how he used to work out and stuff. And what was Arnie's documentary film called?
Pumping Iron.
Pumping Iron. Yeah, it was Pumping Iron. But in that, it's almost like he's on an island. And as I was growing up, these two stories merged together. So like how he's brought up, like he learned all the philosophies. I actually thought that that's what Pumping Iron covers.
Right. Okay. That Arnie was a perfect specimen.
Or just that Arnie had grown up on an island learning about all the philosophies and pumping iron. The two were quite similar. So that was my idea of him. Maybe that's why I have an inflated opinion of him.
Right. Okay. No, I love...
Anyway.
Yeah, with talking about DeVito, he is obviously, great at that slime ball, sleaze bag. He does it in his sleep. He did it loads of times throughout the 80s, obviously with Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile, Ruthless People.
I think he's a special kind of sleazeball, and I think he is
a lovable sleazeball.
No, but I think he's the type of guy that a lot of people today model themselves on. And what I love about it, I watched a full season of, there was a full, I think it was maybe one or maybe two, but there was a full season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then they just introduce him. He's like the dad of one of them, and he comes in, and it just takes it up to what was a good comedy, takes it up to another level. It would just be, it was nuts. So yeah, and he's continued to be relevant like that. So yeah. Is there any production chat around the idea of a third film? Should we cover that now?
We'll get that. I think.
Or do you want to do that at the end? Okay, yeah.
Cover that at the end.
David Caruso.
Hang on.
A very young David.
Did you say David Caruso?
Oh, I've got to wear sunglasses. He's so cool.
So yeah, David Caruso. That's a small sort of early role for him. Obviously before NYPD Blue
and Jade.
And Jade. That won't be a Retro Ramble film. There's also a very subtle cameo that only a hardened Arnie fan like myself would get. So there's a bit where Arnie goes to bail out Danny DeVito from jail, and he goes into the interview glass booths, and he's waiting for,
who's the big guy?
And it's the big guy that walks past, and Arnie assumes
hoping is his twin brother.
So that is Peter Kent, who is also known as Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double.
Well, because they are remarkably similar. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I only know because I've seen so many behind the scenes photos of those two together, like on T2. He's the guy on the bike, on the wires and stuff like that.
I remembered this bit, this joke. The fact there's this sight gag is it Arnie? And do you want to know guess who I remembered as? For some reason, I'd heightened the odds. I thought it was Lou Ferrigno. I don't know why.
All right.
I remember the scene where he's waiting for his brother to turn on. I was like, oh, this is the bit with Lou Ferrigno.
Interesting.
No, but I just, those two at the same sort of time, it was like the two big guys.
Yeah.
But or there's that other guy or other people who've appeared in canon films such as The Running Man and Predator. Those, the big guys.
Yeah, but, Jesse Ventura.
Exactly, the likes. Yeah. So, no, I like how they're introducing this film. Arnie is somewhat naive, but not totally stupid. He's like, he turns up as like, I'll do anything for you. And then he's like, how much money do you actually owe? So he's not completely... He's naive when the plot needs him to be, but I think Reitman uses him well. I think we're seeing a lot of different sides to Arnie that we've never seen before. For us looking back, these films stand out, but it must have been weird to have seen this back then after the films he'd done.
It's a great play against type in terms of that complete naivety, that fish out water comedy. And he does it. I say, DeVito's doing his sleazebag thing. He does that in his sleep. But it's such a joy to see Arnie as that wide-eyed wonder of, the pavement was his enemy. I know. I love just there's little sight gags like the sign on Vincent Benedict's his office. There's a list of stuff, and it's at the top it says sports agent, and at the bottom it's like patio furniture.
I didn't see that. That's genius.
But yeah, no, like I say, and they've got a great chemistry together. Like, it's a testament of this film. I think between the two films we're talking about in this episode, I think there isn't as many memorable one-liners in this, but it's more about their repertoire, their banter between each other. I know. I just feel it's a gentle comedy rather than a laugh out loud comedy. I don't know. Maybe it is, as you say, like at the time people just found it so hilarious because it was so outlandish. They hadn't seen Arnie do anything like that before.
For me, it's kind of like a peacock presenting itself as like, we're going to do a film with Arnie and Danny DeVito. They're going to be twin brothers. And I think that whole thing where they put on the suits and they have the glasses, we all remember that. And it was used in a lot of Sky movie montages about the films that they've got. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like there was certain iconic scenes from the 80s. We all know the ones from The Breakfast Club, from Top Gun, blah, blah, blah. And this was one of them. It was like there's the Rain Man on the escalators and there's these two guys, sunglasses in their suits. And I don't know what's weird for me. That's how it was sold. That's how it's remembered. And as you say, it's not for the one-liners. It's not for any set pieces, or it's just for what stood out to me this time was how much the MVP in this is Danny DeVito. It's his arc. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you see what he goes from a complete disbeliever to being suspicious to having it revealed to him getting emotional about it. And then whereas Arnie's kind of always the same character throughout. It's like, I'm your brother, Vince. But he believes from the get-go.
Yeah.
So he doesn't seem to go on the same sort of journey as Danny DeVito, who goes full 180. And there's something about that chemistry between the two of them. Like it starts off, I don't know, what I think is funny about that, it's like, it's very similar to a buddy cop thing in that we're never going to get along. That's what it's got. The buddy cop aspect to it. It's like two cops put together, Murdoch, whoever it is, and Riggs, whoever it is, all of these people who will never get on. It's that type of thing. But on this, there's this other level where they're actually brothers, and they've got the same mother, and it all comes together at the end. So yeah, it's
what do you think of the subplot with our friend Marshall Bell, Kuato?
No, I refer to him as they sucked. No, this isn't it.
Yeah, he's the general.
Right at us. He doesn't say that amazing line. It's Ironside who says they sucked his brains out. But well, you haven't killed him. Yeah, him. He is brilliant. And he's obviously hitting it out the park in this film, enjoying it. And they've got to have a subplot. And I think this will get back to this in our second special.
Second feature.
Second part of this special, Ivan Reitman special, Kindergarten Cop. The subplot in that, and what's the opposite of a subplot? A plot. Oh, okay. So the plot versus subplot in Kindergarten Cop, there's a lot to talk about there. And you'd say they operate on different levels in both cases. So maybe Ivan Reitman was more comfortable one than with the other. But anyway, it works. It works to have a balance.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt that there wasn't it was almost like they put it in just to say, oh, well, there's still a little bit of sort of actiony sort of
peril, George. That's what the accreditation.
Yes. Yeah,
mild scenes of mild peril.
Yeah, because I don't know. I just feel like you could have just made it as a wacky road trip film and it still would have worked. But I mean, as you say, Marshall Bell as I can't remember what he's called, but he's just that assassin. And I just think he's Webster. He's brilliant. But I just felt it was almost like a bit tacked on, like, oh yeah, remember the subplot, it's still going.
It works though. I think in both cases it works because there's a bit of that. I say, well, I think we can expand on this when we cover Kindergarten Cop, but it's like they both have subplots, and the subplots are not really that relevant to the meat of the film. They're there to serve a purpose. And if anything, they're probably there to provide a beginning, a middle, and end,
True.
If nothing else.
Well, that's it. It gives them a bit of closure. And I suppose it helps with their character arcs as well, in terms of Danny DeVito changing.
Can we talk about when they stumble upon their first dad?
Yes.
Is Granddad wearing the inner linings have perished, tight sport gear? Is that meant to make him look athletic like Arnie?
I think so. The reason I was going to talk about this scene, because this is there's Jason Reitman, so obviously Ivan Reitman's son, who's gone on to become a director in his own right. So he did Juno, Up in the Air, and he directed obviously carried on the legacy of the Ghostbusters. He did the most recent Ghostbusters film, Afterlife.
I haven't seen Up in the Air yet.
Up in the Air is good. Juno's, so yeah, he's mainly known.
I've seen for Juno. Juno's good.
He's mainly known for quirky comedies. But yes, he cameos in that scene. He's one of the sports guy in the short shorts. He's one of the grandkids that comes up to Arnie, but he will also feature in Kindergarten Cop. So we'll jump back for another Jason Reitman cameo later on.
Bring it. Okay, so what else? I mean, let's talk about. We're going to talk about the girls, sisters, eh?
Sisters, eh? I mean, the lovely Kelly Preston. She's stunning. Mrs. John Travolta.
Yeah, and who was with us until, unfortunately, just breast cancer was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, she passed a couple of years ago as well. It's quite sad.
It's I just love how she's sitting in the car. She looks so uncomfortable when Arnie gets in the car. And it's like, you're going to sit in the back, but she's got her back at like 45 degrees to the door. And I think they put a plant or some flowers next to her. Why? Yeah. And there's like blue light coming in from the back.
She looks amazing.
No, the woman doesn't need to do much to look $1 million. And
but as you say,
but it's just the way she sat. I'm just like, when have you ever got in a car and seen anybody waiting for you like that?
And
not just your wife, when has the Uber driver done that for you, for example? It just doesn't happen.
I think you have to pay extra for that on Uber. But no, that's what like goes back to what I was saying, like everything's in soft focus. It feels like everyone's following around Kelly Preston with like spotlighting and dried ice and lip
salve to put on some Vaseline on the lens.
I mean, there's a nice bit of it just adds into that whole sort of synchronicity of, the fact them doing the same dance moves at the same time and stuff like this. Tonight is your night, bro. Tonight, bro.
That's a weird. I think that's a ad-libbing from DeVito, and it's in the film a lot.
Yeah,
it's in it maybe just one time too many, but no, I think it's cool. I do the thing you just picked up on there, the mannerisms where they're doing the same thing. That's nice. That's well done, and I like it where it's done subtly at the beginning. It's like they are actually brothers when it's still not sure, and then it's like it's cute, it's cute. But I say the thing that holds this all together is. I just love DeVito's character. And I think I love his performance. He's just like, yeah, I'm doing this, but deep down and blah, blah, blah. I think there's that bit with the scientist who seems to be horrible.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily horrible to Danny DeVito. And he's like, what? And you're like, is Arnold going to beat him up as well? And it's such that funny scene where the Terminator turns up to protect Danny DeVito. He's getting chased by the Claim brothers, whoever they are, the loan sharks.
Yeah.
And it's like, who doesn't need, when you're a Danny DeVito, who doesn't need that turning up? And you can imagine that's almost the pitch. It's like, oh no, but he really needs Arnold. He needs a brother like Arnold, blah, blah, blah. A lot of it's as you say, not as many one-liners. It's a classic Reitman. It's got a good pace to it.
I think it's an important part of Arnie's like filmography in terms of like him proving that he wasn't just an action star. He could pull off the comedy. But yeah, for me, I'm not going to rush back and watch this again. It's not one of those 80s comedies that you're like, oh yeah, you must watch that. I don't think it has really. It's fine. It's inoffensive. It's an easy watch, but I say there's not that much like great comedy that makes it, stand out. It's like a warm, fuzzy film.
It's good to go back to it every now and again. Let's move on and talk about the third film. And I think now is an appropriate time to talk about it. So tell us all about Triplets. Is it happening? Is it not happening?
Well, as recent as I think
Who could be the third person? Oh my God.
Well, as recent as yesterday, Arnie has said it's still on the books because it was all set to shoot, I think, this year. So it was an idea that I think that Arnie came up with about maybe about 10 years ago, maybe a bit longer. Whereas the third trip, there's going to be a third brother, and it was going to be Eddie Murphy. And that was all set to happen. And then I think Eddie Murphy had to pull out, and then they replaced it with Tracy Morgan, from 30 Rock.
Yeah.
And Ivan Reitman was on board to direct, and it was going to shoot this year. And obviously with Reitman's passing, everyone's like, well, what's happening with Triplets? And apparently Arnie says, oh, well, yeah, we still want to make it happen. We're hoping to find another director.
Yeah.
So, however, Jason Momoa has said a couple of years ago he'd love to do a remake of Twins with his Game of Thrones co-star Peter Dinklage. I'd watch that. Yeah,
why not? That would be hilarious.
But yeah, should we move on to Kindergarten Cop?
Now, more than ever, to be a teacher requires patience, kindness, and understanding. Fortunately, Astoria Elementary has just hired such an individual. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten is like the ocean. You don't want to turn your back on it.
Don't worry, everything is under control.
He's an undercover detective.
I assume you have some teaching experience.
They wouldn't have sent me otherwise.
Assigned to find a mother and son.
Did Danny ever say what Crisp's wife looked like?
Before a killer does.
First, I would like to just get to know you.
A male kindergarten teacher. That's unusual.
He's been trained to shoot.
What made you become a kindergarten teacher?
He's been trained to fight. But there are some things
You mean you eat other people's lunches? Stop it!
he's never been trained to handle.
They're walking all over me.
Listen, Kimball, you gotta handle this like any other police situation.
You're going to be my deputy trainees. You're not gonna have your mommies run behind you anymore and wipe your little tushes. You're mine now.
I'm not a policeman, I'm a princess.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You hit the kid, I hit you.
Wow.
In an Ivan Reitman film.
Are you married, Mr. Kimball?
No, I'm not.
He's not married, Mom!
Welcome to Astoria, the single-parent capital of America.
You got a little mustache.
Must be from the milk.
Kindergarten Cop.
Let's talk about Kindergarten Cop.
I'm a cop, you idiot.
So what's interesting, I think, as per usual, I think we should start off with some production chat. So, George, how do we get this film? Was this a slam dunk? Hey, I've got another idea, or I've got another idea, I've got another role for you, Arnold. We've just done Twins. This is coming after Twins. What was Arnie doing in 1989? Doesn't matter. He did Twins, then he did this. What's the story?
So as far as I can gather with this, I couldn't uncover too much, but whilst Twins was obviously tailor-made for Arnie, it seems like this was a script that was going around and various people were approached, which I'll go on to obviously later in Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda. However, Arnie became interested in it because he became a father, I think, for the first time in 1989. So obviously, yeah, he'd done Twins, but that sort of kind of like the whole sort of father aspect appealed to him. So whilst the script was floating around, I think obviously he's worked with Reitman again, and I think he may have brought, as far as you can gather, I think brought Reitman on board and said, right, there's the script. Why don't you and I get together again and we'll develop it together? Because apparently Arnie had a few conditions before accepting the role. So yeah, he wanted Reitman to direct. He wanted to feature a physical fitness theme in it. And I think this is around about the time he was, in real life, Arnie was fitness czar a fitness ambassador for George Bush Sr. And he and Reitman, for some reason, wanted to include the themes of broken homes, child abuse, and family life written into the script. So they obviously had a lot of bargaining power. But yes, obviously the script was floating around before either of them were attached.
Well, I guess all those themes came up, didn't they? Because I'm not going to press charges.
Well, no, I say I think they included that, built that into the script, as well as probably building Arnie's character to fit his persona more than it would, any of the other actors as such.
Yeah. So, but there's this, how he's introduced is brilliant. I can't remember another. Can you tell me another film where Arnie's had a beard?
Is that a fake beard?
I'm just saying bearded Arnie. I've never seen but I'm going to refer it to. There's the Zeus adverts, which are just out now.
No, there's. I'm fairly sure.
Yes, Stubble and Sabotage, I think. I haven't seen that.
It's terrible. I turned it off.
That's why I haven't seen it, bro. Because you help me out. You tell me which. Don't destroy your image of Arnie.
I'm pretty sure he has a beard to show the passage of time, or show it's a flashback for the opening of, some point in Running Man. I think when he's a prisoner, and he's in
Stubble, if I remember rightly. But I
think
sexy.
It's quite. Whereas this is, I was watching this with my wife.
This is a fake beard.
And I turned to Lula and my wife, and I was like, that's a fake beard, right? She's like, obviously. It's like really, it's just the close-ups. You can see like it's sort of glued on, and it's slightly, but he looks a badass. Obviously he's got the trench coat, he's got the glasses that are different from the Terminator glasses.
Tell you what's not different from Terminator, at least T2, is the mall.
He's in the mall.
And he's in the back. He's in the back alleys of the mall, like he is in T2. So it's funny because like that's where you go, life imitating art, imitating life. In that they've obviously said no. We at the beginning of the film we need to show you as what you're known for. So we want you. You're going to be like the Terminator, but don't worry, we're going to give you a beard. I haven't got time to grow one. It's okay. We're gonna stick one on. No one will notice. Maybe George's wife, but nobody else.
Because that's it. It's not even like a proper beard. It's just like some like heavy-ish stubble.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's thick stubble. So it's one of those. They're probably getting into different level, but. I just think it's funny that they've said to him, we're going to take, because there's obviously this after Terminator. It's like, we want to show that side of you. In this mall, and you're going down the side streets and you're following a bad guy, and then 2 years later we've got the greatest science fiction film ever made,
and the greatest film. I'm safe to say this: the greatest film that features scenes filmed in the back service passages of a shopping mall.
Let's get it exact. So, like, this is no T2, but it's interesting. This is pre T2. So, is that a ponytail, or are you just greasy to see me?
We won't get to ponytail just yet. No, but I'm just thinking, like, obviously we kind of glossed over it with Twins, but in terms of first memories of this film, I remember it obviously having the actiony, him being a cop.
I remember the trailer. The trailer opens with the whole "I'm John Kimball, I love my car."
But that's it.
Opens with that.
But that's it. I remember that bit where he goes to the club or that party or whatever and kills everybody. But I don't remember the mall scene, and I don't know if it's like you've talked about in previous episodes that the video hadn't started recording yet. You'd
selective memory. Yeah, probably because it's the mall scenes right at the beginning. I agree. I agree with you on that. I remember there was probably that's how it worked. It wasn't down to the very first minute. Sometimes you'd miss the recordings, but I remember the trailer introduced showed him with the beard and the sunglasses. Who wears sunglasses at night? A crazy ass cop
all the time. He wears them all the time.
What's so nuts about that scene is he goes in there and he shoots the place up. And you just said he goes and kills anyone. He doesn't kill anybody, but he goes into a place that's apparently full of criminals and just shoots a shotgun and blows up lots of glass because it was the 80s. Let's blow some glass around the place. But nobody pulls a gun on him. Like in normal scenarios, like if you were to walk into the back room of a club and do like fire one shot, you'd expect it, or maybe Hollywood's made us to believe, you'd expect some sort of shootout, whereas they're all like, no, he's blowing up the furniture, run away.
Yeah, he's shooting all the furniture.
And it's just for him to say, I'm a cop. And it's witness intimidation, basically. But don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
It's very creepy. He's like, I'm going to be around here a lot. And
it's not witness intimidation. No, not at all. Not at
all. But yes, let's talk about Crisp. They're with his...
Oh, my God.
One of the most 90s bad guy, or /80s. He's got the boxy blazer, some awful shirts, and that ponytail. That
ponytail is I think, Woody Allen said that a lack of sense of humor is grounds for divorce. And I would say that ponytail is licensed for him being hunted down right now and it being cut off his body and burnt.
Well, there's an old, Armstrong and Miller. There's a sketch where there's this always like really smooth guy chatting away and
then he turns
and he's got this like tiny ponytail. People are like, oh, ponytail. And that's it with this. It's just like, oh yeah, he's a pretty cool bag.
Oh my God, I'm going to be sick.
I just threw it up in my mouth. And
he's hissable. He's cheesy and he's just like got some accent going on and talking through my teeth because I'm so angry.
Charlie, you know what else he's in there?
No, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a Mr. Character actor, but this has got to be his biggest role.
Ted, how many hitchhikers are we talking about? Hitchhikers? In my lifetime? You sick son of a bitch, gonna fry.
No harm, no foul.
So yes, he's in a bunch of so he's called what's his name, Richard Tyson. He's in a bunch of Farrelly Brothers films. So he's in something about
aware of his strengths.
So yeah, he's in something about Mary, and I think he's in Kingpin and Me, Myself, and Irene. But yes, he's very memorable as the very aggressive cop in interrogating Ben Stiller. But yes, he's really sleazy in this, but there's also Mother.
Smother. No, Mother.
Yes, Mother, everything's going to plan. You can make a movie just about their relationship.
I think there's as you say, there's a darker side to this film. Can you imagine if the kindergarten cop was only a very small part of the film, and it was all just about him and what's the film with Woody Harrelson and Julianne Lewis?
Oh, Natural Born Killers.
It's like that with these two.
Well, that's it. Just bring out a sequel, but it's just from their perspective, and it's just following what they're up to whilst Arnie's doing all his training. Just him and Mother on a road trip. No, Mother.
Not like that. But you said.
I want to listen to Fleetwood Mac, Mother.
Temperature's colder here, Mother. You should wear a scarf. It's wrong on so many levels, but it works. As we talked about, it was brought up in Twins. This is the subplot. It works better in this than in Twins. In Twins, it sticks out. It's his old life. It's his old life, and it's why he's there.
Yeah, it's bookended, and I think it's obviously all the setup. You have to go undercover at a primary school. I mean, yeah, we talked about before, there's the lady playing the tiny principal. Sorry, Linda Hunt is her name, but she stood next to Arnie. It just makes him look ginormous.
Yeah, and it's used, I think, a few times in this film. It's just he's next to children, he's next to that, but it's so we've got Arnie with a beard. There's a lot of ADR for the very, especially for the teacher. I think everything she says is ADR'd.
What, the little the head teacher?
The hot teacher.
Penelope Ann Miller, who seemed to be really hot in the early 90s. She's in Carlito's Way. I think she's in The Shadow, and she was in The Relic. So yeah, she had a. I mean, she's still
God, The Relic with Michael
Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore, that's it. I always think he's called Michael, but yeah, Tom Sizemore.
I think he gets confused with Michael Madsen quite a bit.
That's it. That's the one. I think I'm in the confused party, definitely.
Yeah. She's still churning out stuff, but it seemed like she was very much a hot property the early to mid 90s. Did I not mention My Ferret?
Yeah, I mean, an interesting decision.
It's just odd. It's just
why have you got a ferret, and why'd you leave it in the car to bake while you're at school?
That's it. And it's just sort of it's the fact that it's not mentioned at all until how am I going to win these kids over? I know, I'll get the ferret out the car. It's what ferret?
No, it would have made sense if it was just in one more scene. One more scene before that. It wouldn't have been as weird. But I mean, I'm going to keep going back to this. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that Arnie has range. I feel like in Twins in this film, he was trying to see what range he had. And I just want to pick up a few things. So we've had Arnie with a beard. We've had sweaty, fakey beard Arnie. We've got Austrian speaking Arnie in this film. We've got running army. We've got military training Arnie. We've got poetry reading Arnie. Do you know what I mean? It's there's many different, and we got going on a date Arnie. We've got things that we've not seen from him.
Don't know when was the last time I watched this film, but there's so many quotes that you that I say in comparison to this and Twins, this film is so quotable. Everyone will say, it's not a tumor, and who is your daddy, and what does he do? And I'm not sure if that just came about because of, remember soundboards, Charlie? Remember when the early days of the internet, there was an Arnie soundboard, and I think
early days there still is. They're brilliant. You just go, you click a mouse, and you can get apps now.
Yeah, we had lots of fun with Arnie soundboards when they first came out, and a lot of them quotes were from this. But I talked, you talked about the dating scene. I totally forgot about. It's a great scene where he's with he's with his partner, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm his sister Ursula," and I just thought that was hilarious. Like, it's a great bit of
comedy. Yeah, it's just like she's like, "Well, yeah, you're supposed to be able." She was supposed to be able to have gone undercover and create a personality. So why can't she do that? If she can do that, this is testament to her role, I think, rather than, oh yeah, she's ill, so Arnie steps in. She could never have done a good job as him. This is her way. I think it's a way of showing that her character could.
Yeah, she's great in this. Pamela Reed,
real very strong character, and I think Arnie. Looking back, I think Arnie would have benefited of having more roles like that, being sat next to a strong woman, picking fun at him.
Yeah.
You know, like she says, get these tree trunks out of my way and stuff like that. I don't know. It makes him more, I think it makes him more appealing, more bearable. I think that it was the style of the time, you know, to put big actors like him, like they did it with Stallone and I'm going to say Pauly Shore. It wasn't Pauly Shore. Who was it in the
Rob Schneider,
right? They put that's how they accentuate size. But what you see in this film is it's such a good dynamic between the two of them in this film. It's like she's got her thing and he's totally different. But they both respect each other. And I just think he walks away out of this film looking better. And I say I've mentioned all those ranges, but he's putting in 110% effort.
And you've got to give some credit, though, to a lot of the laughs in this film come from the kids. And you can tell that a lot of it is just unscripted, like just keep them going. Just like all the stuff some of the kids come out with. It's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure this spawned the TV show Kids Say the Darndest Things or whatever they
say the funniest things.
One of those shows, because it is just hit the camera rolls. Because I think you hit the nail on the head. I thought the exact same when my daddy does this. I don't think any of that was scripted. It was like, what does your dad do? What does he say?
My daddy's a sex machine.
Yeah. It's just like, I think they had some fun with that. What would kids say? Or what would kids say? What is the type of thing kids would say? And what's the funniest version of that? I think that's where Reitman's skill comes in here. I think he's in both films. He's like, okay, so I'm taking this sort of story and taking that. How can it have heart and be funny? And carry itself along, and he demonstrates it in both of these films.
I have a question though. In the there's obviously the montage where Arnie's getting in his.
The 80s. It was the 80s.
But Arnie's getting his mandatory. No, we need to teach the kids fitness. How long is he actually teaching for? Because isn't it
3 days?
Is it supposed
3
to be 3 days?
3 days, and the principal turns around and goes, "You got a job for life."
Got a job for life.
you know that teacher that's worked here forever that I said in Act 1, you're putting me in a bind, getting rid of her. She's gone. The job's yours.
Yeah, she's gone.
You're so amazing.
That is some of the finest teaching I've
ever seen. Okay, I'm glad for that. I guess it's to say mission accomplished. Is that the point here?
Well, it's just to show it's to show his methods may be extreme, but he's learning. He's becoming a better person.
I think this is what we probably don't ring the bell enough about because we feel we don't need to on this podcast. This is just 80s cheese. We had 90s cheese, think Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. This was 80s cheese. It was
as I say, the music, the music when they're driving through the woods to get to Astoria is like do and like Tallulah and I just sat there like on the sofa putting our heads bopping our heads side to side. Music is awful until Crisp's sinister music plays in. Well, I'm sure you'll drop some in the post edit.
Why not?
So yes, we have I Love You, Mother. Crisp is back. Him being a really bad guy, stealing that Scalextrics track. Oh, the swine.
He fucking stalks that guy and then offers him money and then just beats him up.
Yeah, and it's like, I'll give you 4 times the price.
We did talk about this, I think, in recent episodes about like how bad guys show how bad they are. It's kind of like this is how bad he is. Look what he's doing. This
he's beating up.
He's a fucking monster.
He's a monster, but the real monster is Mother, and I'm sure like
Smother.
Mother is more effective than Crisp. Like she's the one that actually manages to take Arnie down, and she almost gets him, almost offs him.
Well, let's talk about that because like Mother takes out the witness.
Yes.
Chris would be nowhere. Almost takes out Arnie. Arnie fails, and it's actually the partner that comes. The mother takes out the partner, then the partner scrambles back, and she's the savior.
And if it hadn't been for Chekhov's ferret, then Chris probably would have killed Arnie as well. That perfectly timed ferret that doesn't bite anyone.
Until he's needed.
Until he's needed. I knew as soon as that ferret turned up, he was going to bite somebody.
Yeah.
Just kick its face off. What's that? Otters.
Either applies. I reckon you could kick the other's face off.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts. Have you done Coulda, Woulda, Sugar? Coulda, Woulda, Sugar? Could have, would have, should have.
We haven't, but first I've got. Well, we talked about there's the Jason Reitman cameo in this. Is that he is the boy making out with the girl during the fire alarm? But I have got a new feature that I'm going to start in the series. I'm not sure how long it's going to run for because it is ferret trivia.
This is like monkey magic.
It's a bit like monkey magic. Who knows how much ferret trivia we'll get out of this series, but owning a pet ferret, like Kimball does, is illegal in California. A ban which former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger supported. Fortunately, this film is set in Astoria, Oregon, where it is perfectly legal. Another one of those facts tomorrow.
I like I think you didn't even need to say it was legal. It takes something away. I like the idea that the reason why it's hidden in his car and it's hidden in the bag and it's like it's a bit of a scamster. It's because he's illegal.
It's because he's illegal.
Anyway.
So speaking of Astoria, does that ring any bells? The location?
Yes, it does.
So the elementary school is apparently only just a few blocks away from the Goonies house.
There it is. That's what it is.
And apparently when they're doing the school fair, there's like a long shot and you can actually see the islands, the rocky coast that you see in the Goonies. So there you go. If you haven't listened to it, we also covered the Goonies early on in Retro.
Oh, of course. That was a long time ago.
But shall we release Jeff and Celine?
I think it's time to. They're knocking on the door. Jeff's pretty happy with how we covered him in Independence Day in one of our more recent episodes, so he's happy to come back on the show. Here they are.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
So Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda is where George enlightens us on actors who were considered for roles but didn't get them. So who have we got this time?
Well, again, I say this is from IMDb, so take from a pinch of salt. So there's quite a few people that were considered for the role of Detective John Kimball, Bill Murray, Patrick Swayze. I think yes. So if you just go through them and just say if you think it's bullshit or not. So yeah, Bill Murray,
no.
Patrick Swayze, yes, that's kind of believable. Jack Nicholson, he could do it.
Why not?
And finally, Danny DeVito.
There's somebody.
Sorry. There's sure. Just Chuck Walken.
Where the hell is Walken in that list?
Chuck Norris.
Yes, would watch.
Kurt Russell, definitely would watch.
Definitely, much better. Yeah, that's the go-to.
And Robin Williams. I can't see Robin Williams as a hard-edged cop blowing up places with a shotgun.
I also think Robin Williams going into school, being a teacher, got an Oscar doing it in a slightly different way. So yeah. I think it was good for him to hold out.
And then finally, for the role of Crisp, apparently Christian Slater was considered after Ivan Reitman had seen him in Heathers, but Christian Slater turned it down to avoid being typecast.
And refusing to sport a ponytail.
So here is the costume sketches. Oh God, no.
It's not even in the script. I'm sorry. If he doesn't have a ponytail, I'm not making this movie. You're wearing a ponytail. I'm out. So, okay. Anybody else?
No. I mean, that was quite a few people.
Is there? And no. I'm saying, is there anybody else apart from Walken who you could have considered? So that was coulda, woulda, shoulda.
On my final point, suspicious spin-offs. So there is actually a direct-to-DVD Kindergarten Cop 2 starring Dolph Lundgren. That is completely unrelated. I think it's just the same setup, but instead of it he's an FBI agent and he goes to like a very artistic, arty-farty
retreat.
A very relaxed type of learning school, sort of like an unconventional learning school.
A sanctuary.
So, yeah, let's go with that. But I watched the trailer and I realized I will never get those 3 minutes of my life back.
Is that the film where he's scared of white and the end fight is in a milk factory?
No, that's John Woo's Blackjack. Still to be covered. So we can add that to our
I'll
revelations.
get to Revelations. That's amazing. What a character arc. What a character arc. Okay, so that was the Ivan Reitman double bill special. We've covered Twins. We've covered Kindergarten Cop. We hope you've enjoyed them. And if you haven't, let us know because, we might read those comments.
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of final thoughts on Kindergarten Cop, I think it does, and I think it got picked up on this by the critics when it first came out. It does feel a little bit uneven at times with you've got, as you say, drug overdoses, child abuse, people getting gunned down, but then you've got hilarious comedy in the middle. It's kind of, I think it's fine and it works. It's enjoyable, but it is a bit of an oddity, isn't it?
I think you're used to the term bookends when we talk about these subplots. I think it works better.
Yeah.
Kindergarten Cop.
Yes.
But it's still a bit out there because, we've seen these, how many times does the fish out of water thing come up from, Johnny Utah, you're going to have to be a surfer, to, going undercover and all this is like, okay, this is nuts. It's like somebody like Arnie it's like kindergarten teacher, gender bias. That's a woman's job. And
there's a lot of single mothers as well.
Oh my God, we haven't talked about them. That's some serious levity. And this is like, he is getting hit on like there is no tomorrow. Yeah. It's like, he's hit pay dirt. It's like, never mind the undercover. How's the case going? I haven't had this much sex since I was a scout leader. No, it was a good time for a kindergarten teacher, but I don't know. There's something about that subplot that I think it's more hilarious in this. And I'm not just talking about the ponytail. There's something about it in this, whereas there's like in both, I think we talked about this in Twins, in both times, they don't seem menacing, but is that just us now? The bad guys don't seem at all menacing.
He beat up that poor man for the Scalextric track, Charlie. What are you on about?
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Crisp is terrifying. If he wasn't so hilariously... Puma, no, it's the other film. If he wasn't so hilariously ponytailed...
Yes, that's true.
I'd be more scared of him.
That's true. He is a scumbag, but...
oh, no, he's hissable. But no, a lot of fun. Both two very similar films. Enjoy them both. I just felt like I was seeing a lot of... I can't remember seeing so much range from Arnie over these two films. You don't get to see this sort of thing. And fair play to him for trying,
Well, they were both very successful films. I think, obviously, I don't think Kindergarten Cop was as successful as Twins. But yeah, for me, I think Kindergarten Cop is the funnier film. However, with the caveat, if I'm looking for Arnie doing comedy and action, I would always go back to True Lies. Yeah.
So I was thinking this when we were talking about this earlier. I was like, but him at his best is True Lies.
Which I have, funnily enough, I have I picked up from a charity shop years ago. When I watched this, I have a triple DVD pack and it's Twins, Kindergarten Cop and True Lies.
There's your recommendation, ladies and gentlemen. That is the order to watch these films in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got nothing more to add. Do you?
Well, it was just to be, the usual sort of caveats of,
thank you for listening. Yes. Thank you.
Please share. If you're on iTunes, subscribe. And if you have time, leave us a review because that does help. I say we're a little independent podcast. If you want to go one step further, we're on Patreon. So Retro Ramble are on Patreon. We're doing bonus episodes every month to give you extra content for your support. So again, please check that out if you're interested.
More and more every month. There's quite a few episodes up there. Films we've seen recently, films we missed when we were younger. Also on Spotify, we're putting together some playlists. We're going to bunch together some of our episodes and share those with you on Spotify because we know there's more and more people listening to us via Anchor and Spotify. We're going to have some fun with that. We're probably going to start off with an Arnie playlist, so this will probably feature. But I think we'll cut it up for the stars, the type of action genres. So yeah, check those out. Follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support. And if you've got any suggestions, you can get us on Facebook. You can get us on our website. And we're on, as George just mentioned, Patreon.
Twitter, Instagram.
Twitter. Exactly.
We draw the line there. We're not doing TikToks yet. We're far too old for that.
So, for this episode, I've been Charlie McGee.
I've been George McGee.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.